so far? There's David. Christina, I think you're muted.
Yeah, and David's not fully here. That's what she was going to tell you. I'm actually supposed to be in a work Zoom, so I'll have you in my ear, but I might pull you out of my ear if I get in trouble. So
sure, no problem.
I'll do what I can.
Thank you. Okay, so let's just dive right in. This is Tuesday Talks. I'm Christina Dillabo. The first thing that I was going to share is that Discipleship Ministries has published, I guess it's an updated URL with promising inspiration for Hispanic Heritage Month. I'll share that with you now. It's kind of one of those stay tuned, but not exactly. Let me share my screen. There we go. So the link that I'm going to share with you, it's this page right here. And so it talks a little bit about Hispanic Heritage Month and when and why we observe it. But then they're saying that they will highlight things and all that. I don't see it yet. So I think what they're going to do is just see, it says stay tuned. They're going to be publishing things on this page. So maybe save this as a bookmark if you want to be able to share some information or whatever it is that they're going to share. But they also have the contact information for these people if you want to reach out to someone to find out specifics. And there's links that we already had shared before about Hispanic Heritage Month. What else? And then if you go down under related, these things also, we already have the bilingual worship resource. You're going to find some of these things on our dscumc.org website under committees. So I'll include that link as well, because you'll find other resources. I did, excuse me, it's kind of something that we already talked about last week, but since it's a new URL, it is updated, and they're going to have new content here. I figured I'd share this with you today so you have it for down the road. Okay, questions about that? Okay, let me see what else we've got. Then the next item, so the Facebook Live streaming issue has just been an ongoing saga that's probably started sometime around COVID. And I don't know why, other than we all know that Facebook changes the way it functions all the time. And they don't always provide, in my opinion, we don't always get the clearest directions or quick directions on what to do to solve an issue. Sometimes churches have experienced issues where their live stream goes mute or it's completely blacked out. And that happens to be an issue mostly on Facebook Live. And it's not like if the Desert Southwest Conference or any particular church in the Desert Southwest Conference are the only ones that are experiencing this. There's online forums all over the place that all sorts of churches talking about this issue. There's the Western Jurisdiction Facebook group that started during COVID about doing worship online. Many people have addressed it there. So I can provide the link that has that Facebook group if you're interested in joining to try to pick somebody's brain. There's a lot of stuff that was included in there in kind of tagged topics. And some of the stuff that I'm going to cover with you today is already in that group. But basically what we're saying as a recommendation, if your congregation is saying, the place I go to most is Facebook, can't you just live stream there? I don't want to have to create a membership here. I don't want to go somewhere else. I know how to go to Facebook. That's where I want to be able to find my church. Why can't you just stream there? So one way to go around that, because what they're saying is, I want to watch my church's live stream, and I know how to do that on Facebook. Help me do that. So you may not be able to fix the Facebook live streaming issue, but what you can do is, if you're live streaming successfully on Vimeo or YouTube or some other channel, just link to it, make that part of your weekly process to publish something on Facebook about live streaming is starting in 10 minutes, and then live stream is about to start in 2 minutes, or, live stream now ready or something. Even just the one post is good, but that way your membership or viewers that are comfortable on Facebook can still find your live stream. So another thing that I really loved that I wanted to share with you all today, I really love the solution that Song of Life discovered, and we've talked about it before, but this is a good time to do a refresher course reminder of some free or no cost options, easy to do, looks pretty, it works for some of our churches, type of a thing. And that one is a site called online.church. And so that allows you to create a customized live streaming page where you can embed your live stream on this page and have, I think this is correct, have live commenting on there like you would if it was a Facebook live thing. Because that might be another reason why your congregation is looking to Facebook Live as their live stream viewing option. So I'm going to go to Song of Life's live stream page so you can see what that looks like. Because I really also love how they offer a kind of like it, there's something to look at. You can see what the schedule is. It's a great look. And look at that. You can even download the bulletin and I'm guessing you can choose what your other links are going to be here.
Yes, you can.
Thanks, David.
And I'm embarrassed that I didn't change the thumbnail for last Sunday's YouTube. I just threw it in there quickly. I don't think "See You Next Sunday" is a very inviting thumbnail to have there to get people to watch it. So, oops.
Well, and that's a great note. Pay attention to your thumbnails.
Yes.
I know I'm not doing a good job at all of even creating thumbnails for Tuesday Talks, and I will.
Oh.
One day I'm going to do it to highlight why are you going to watch this Tuesday Talk over another one. What you name your live streams is important too. So we're venturing off into another area, but see, we've got Renewed Love, Traditional Service, 918. That's probably the name of the sermon, Renewed Love. In my Tuesday Talks, for example, I just always call them Tuesday Talks and then whatever date that I published it. That's not super helpful because if someone's looking for something specific, they won't find it because of my title. Go ahead, Dr. David.
My pastor spouse brought that up because for the last couple of years, I've been just generically titling them as online worship. And she says, can't you put the sermon titles in there, please? And I said, okay, I'll start doing that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yep.
That's a great practice. And then if you have the energy and time to go back in and edit the description of whatever sermon, maybe include the scripture in there or some kind of like a takeaway question that they had or anything like that. Because all that's going to help when people are searching for worship online. And it might help you down the road if you decide to do something like what, I'm going to stop sharing for a second. I think it was Lakeview UMC has an incredible live stream audience on YouTube. And part of what they do is categorize their live streams on like themes, like sermons around overcoming depression, maybe, or sermons of hope, things like that. And so if you might not do that right up front as you're doing your live stream, and maybe you don't have a whole bunch of volunteers, but there might be a time down the road that if you're taking the time now to name your live streams with the sermon title, that's a great first step. And then adding some descriptive information in the video description afterwards, that's the next best second step. And then down the road, you could create playlists that are themed with, all Old Testament sermons or sermons on whatever, revitalization maybe, however you want to do that. But anyway, just some quick tips. But David, can you correct me? I believe that this church online software or website, is it free?
Yes.
See, what a great resource. And Song of Life, what they do is, so this isn't replacing their website. It's just a means for viewing the live stream. So maybe your church website has a page where your live stream is embedded right in there. So going back to the original question about what do I do with Facebook Live, you could publish a reminder, maybe even schedule the reminders. And if you already know what the sermon titles are going to be, you could schedule posts to bring them back to your website live stream page, schedule those in Facebook with the sermon title, join us at this time. You could create events on Facebook so they show up that way, that link to your sermon page, no, your live stream page. In this case, Song of Life has a button on their, part of their navigation on their menu would be maybe going to events or whatever, but one of them is about worship online. I don't remember the exact button, but it takes you to a page where it's got all sorts of information about, how they worship online and where to find their this page that has the live stream and all that. So you could do it that way, or you could link directly to this online.church site. And that even has a customized URL on it that, you choose what you want it to be called. So it's great all around. Many ways of implementing it. Highly recommend it. We know from Song of Life that it works really well. And was it difficult to set up, David?
Not particularly. The trickiest thing probably was the subdomain to make it match our web URL. So live.songoflifeumc.org. But that's a kind of a set it and forget it thing. Mm-hmm. It's something you have to do once when you're first setting it up. You don't have to use that. You can use it like songoflife.church, online.church or whatever. They give a subdomain option. Mm-hmm. So anyway.
Okay, so then with that one, I think that's kind of leading us to another topic I was going to talk about. So the free option includes this organization's name in the URL, but if you want to customize the link so that it doesn't include online.church in the URL, then you may have to purchase another domain, right? Is that what happened with your? Well, he may be busy in another meeting right now. Yeah. So, his other meeting's starting. So you may have to purchase a domain. And so that kind of is a great segue into another topic, which was, so I'm skipping the Housing Symposium and Church Cartographers for now, but about website options on the cheap, but at what cost? So really this segment is about, I'm really trying to target churches that don't have a website right now, how they could afford to have a website or have a web presence. We've got Google Sites. We talked about that before. We talked about how MailChimp also and GoDaddy, all three of those offer a free website option. But with all three of those, you don't get a clean URL. All three of them include Google Sites in the URL or MailChimp or GoDaddy. That doesn't look the best. In my opinion, it's better than nothing. So if your church doesn't have a website or you have no funds for a website, don't know how to do it, you don't have someone on staff that can help you with it, you have help. Desert Southwest Conference Communications can help you with that. We can set up the free version. And if you want to, I could talk to you about what it costs to have that special URL that doesn't include Google or MailChimp or GoDaddy in the website address. And it doesn't have to be super complicated. I would try to create it in a way. And so, yes, I could also create the website for you. I would do that in a way that your church won't have to go back in and update a lot, like just putting evergreen content, where you're located, what time sermons or worship is happening, any other outreach things that you have, that this is always what it is. Put that content in there, and many, many times who to contact if you have questions. That way, something happens and the service isn't on time. I don't know. Boy Scout troop maybe meets at your church and it's not happening that week. They'll know where to contact, how to contact someone. about where is it happening, what's going on. So anyway, so you have help. Please reach out to communications@dscumc.org. Let me know what your church name is, and no budget, small budget. We can go through phases. I can share one site that we did recently is, go back to Google Chrome, is zionmethodist.org. This is actually a MailChimp website. So it started out free, but now that we have the customized URL, there's a little bit of a fee there. First of all, to pay for the URL on an annual basis, but then also now to link it to MailChimp. Anyway, so it's pretty basic, nothing major, but it's just evergreen content for them. So we can do something like this for your church if that's something that you're interested in. It could be customized, whatever it is that you want to have. And the nice thing about it too, in this case, is, where is it? Of course, this is the page that doesn't have something about subscribe. Let's see here. Here we go. It is linked to MailChimp, so it'll easily just subscribe people to a MailChimp newsletter. So all sorts of bonuses there. Now, questions about that? All right, then the next thing that we're going to talk about is the difference between the Affordable Housing Symposium and the Church Cartographers webinar, Rethinking Your Church Space. So you may have heard about this, or maybe you didn't. It's been in different newsletters. So one of the events, let me look at my notes. The Housing Symposium happens on October 29th. And if you register by the end of this month, if you're at Desert Southwest Conference Church, you can participate, watch it, whatever, at zero cost. But you have to complete your registration by September 30th. So don't forget to do that, because after that, it's $299 to participate. I know Jim Triscott is already registered because I got an update of the registration list as of last week on Friday. So that symposium is talking about the whole process and how it worked for some churches that have been doing it, what would be involved for your church if you're interested in doing it. It's just about starting a conversation on offering affordable housing, and it would be from your church, maybe in partnership with other organizations, but still your church would be a major partner in it. And but it's only about affordable housing. The Church Cartographers webinar happens on October 19th. And let me check to see. I'm going to share my screen. I don't remember if that one is free or what. Okay, well, I know registration is going to be available soon. I don't know if it's free. Right now, we don't have that information. But this event on October 19th, it's like the affordable housing webinar, plus information about other types of ministries that your church could participate in. So maybe affordable housing, it's a great idea because you meet the needs of your community, but it's just not a good fit. Maybe your church doesn't have all this property or empty buildings or whatever, but you still want to figure out how can we be a vital ministry in our community, meet the needs of our community. This webinar is going to give you some great ideas of how to rethink your current church space to do something. And I want to relate it to the affordable housing webinar, because it's not your typical Bible study group or something along those lines. That's the kind of stuff that you're going to learn about in this particular webinar. It's just really trying to meet the needs of the community, but it's not specific to spiritual needs. It's other stuff. And I haven't attended this webinar, so I don't really know what the other stuff is, but yeah, it's an outreach type of a ministry. And so hopefully I answered some questions, or at least annoyed you enough that you're going to remember that there's two webinars, affordable housing and the church cartographers one. For this one, I'm going to click to the learn more because that one it takes you to the article, talks a little bit more about it, and it shows you a link here to click here to download the next steps document. So you're going to want to look at this before the webinar. And if you watch this video, it kind of tells you a little bit more about how it worked at White Rock United Methodist Church. So maybe that will also answer some questions. So I think what I'll do is I'll send you this link to the webinar because the other one doesn't have registration yet anyway. And when the registration is available, we'll be sure to include a button here. So if this is the link that you have, you'll get to the registration. But since it is on October 19th, it says it there, you could always find it on our Desert Southwest Conference calendar by clicking on the calendar link at the top and going to October 19th, 2022. October 19th. There it is, Church Cartographers webinar for rethinking your church space. Okay. Questions about that? All right. Then the last thing I want to share or go over is just if your church, I'm going back to the Facebook Live thing real quick. If your church happens to have something that some other recommendation or, oh, we figured it out, we talked to Facebook and here's our solutions or here's some things to watch out for, please share that information and email it to communications@dscumc.org. And I will be sure to filter that through to our churches so that others have it as well. I promise I'm going to also send you the Facebook group link for the Western Jurisdiction, how to worship online Facebook group. So that's really a great resource. If you're looking for tips about equipment or latest copyright laws or whatever, I bet you're going to find something there. And if you don't find it, you could post it as a question, and there's going to be a lot of people offering help, including people like David Topping, who happens to be a musician. So I always mention that because he knows copyright. Like as a musician, he knows it, but also as the music director at his church, he knows what churches need to be able to live stream. And if somebody can't find the copyright information for some obscure song or whatever, like he's the one that can find it. So he's a great resource to have. And my final takeaway, well, okay, I'm just going to share it. I just feel like I'm going off to yet another route. A quick note about copyright. So some of what might be going on with why a video is dinged as copyright infringement is if you're using content as part of your online worship, sharing a video that you don't own, that you didn't create, and you didn't purchase a license for it, even if it's a video on YouTube. Like if I made a YouTube video with some Garth Brooks song and did my own PowerPoint and whatever, or it's a video of me dancing to it, and your church wanted to share it in your worship, number one, that makes total sense. Who doesn't want to watch that? But number two, I don't own that song and I have no rights to create this video, but maybe I got away with it for a while. And when your church wants to include it, you're going to get dinged because you don't have the rights for it. If it was a song that, maybe I'll just continue with Garth Brooks, but there was an extra verse that was written by so-and-so. Now you also need the licensing permission from Garth Brooks, but also whoever wrote that extra verse that's included in this video, you would need permission from the video creator. And if I used any images or video clips from some other resource that I don't own, that I maybe had to purchase, now that's another license. So there's a lot of things that go into streaming legally. So just because you have maybe the church streaming license doesn't mean that, hey, I've got all my bases covered. There's a lot more to it. So I'm just sharing that so that we don't go into a mindset of Facebook is terrible or YouTube is terrible or whatever. These laws are in place for a reason. Somebody created that content and this is their livelihood. So as a church organization, we want to follow the rules, and we want to make sure that that people are taken care of, and that includes artists. So with that, I am all done with my Tuesday talks today. Thank you for joining me. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you